dari dunia akademik yang berpautkan fakta, teori, ketenangan ke dunia yang Datuk dikenali sebagai pakar ekonomi Islam, different set of worlds, terus terjun ke dunia politik yang penuh dengan kritikan, penuh dengan idealisme, penuh dengan jalan yang banyak cabaran. Tell me, Dok, satu soalan sahaja. Why? Why that step? Or why that jump?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Datuk Seri atas jemputan ini. Soalan tu berulang kalilah ditanya kepada saya. Terutamanya saya ingat lagi yang paling ni sekali ialah bila saya tinggalkan dunia kewangan dan perbankan Islam. Banyak CEO bank dia tanya why politics, kan? Dia cannot imagine.
Even I still can't imagine.
Sebab ramai orang kenal saya dalam pelbagai sisi, kan. Tetapi sebenarnya dia bermula dengan apa sebenarnya falsafah hidup kita lah. Saya banyak dibesarkan dan dibangunkan dengan satu falsafah, dan falsafah ini dibina oleh mak ayah kita. Kita hidup ni akhirnya apakah yang boleh kita berikan makna kepada orang sekeliling kita. Dan yang paling penting sekali, hidup kita ini adalah untuk kita memberikan khidmat yang terbaik kepada masyarakat. Sebab itulah falsafah hidup saya pun, hidup itu biar berjasa. Ialah terkait dengan latar belakang keluarga saya. Saya datang daripada keluarga yang memang bermasyarakat. Ayah saya, mak saya, moyang saya, datuk saya, ya, mereka daripada latar belakang. Moyang saya dulu adalah orang yang banyak buka pondok, sekolah bermasyarakat. Kalau di Kelantan tu orang kenali sebagai Tok Selehor.
Tok Selehor.
Dia adalah kawan baik kepada Tok Kenali. Dia buka pondok di Selehor lah. Dan dia turun kepada nenek saya yang juga mengajar, bermasyarakat. Ayah saya juga adalah orang yang terlibat dalam politik, pernah menjadi ahli parlimen, Dua Bengal. Jadi saya lahir dan membesar dalam suasana begitu. Maknanya hidup dengan bermasyarakat. Ayah saya selalu bawa...
Di Kelantan?
Saya sebenarnya... Ramai orang ingat saya betul lah, saya latar belakang saya daripada Kelantan, keluarga saya Kelantan. Tapi saya lahir dan membesar di PJ, Petaling Jaya. Waktu kecil lagi, ayah saya kalau hujung minggu je dia akan bawa saya balik ke Kelantan. Kalau cuti je balik ke Kelantan. Yalah, waktu tu dia wakil rakyat. Jadi kita sentiasa bergelumang dengan orang kampung. Benda itu banyak dia membina falsafah kehidupan kita. Dan bila saya masuk ke universiti pun, saya adalah pimpinan pelajar. Saya aktif dalam arus
bertanding nama jaya.
Bertanding, pernah menjadi Presiden Persatuan Kebangsaan Pelajar Islam Malaysia, sambung master dan PhD. Kebetulan masa tu saya mendapat graduan terbaik UIA dalam bidang accounting. My university dah prepared, dia kata dia pujuk saya untuk masuk sebagai academic staff, dan waktu tu in particular Profesor Kamal Hassan, Allah yarham, dan Profesor Dr. Azmi Omar. Mereka yang mempengaruhi saya untuk masuk ke UIA sebagai seorang academician. Kata we need people that was nurtured in IIUM punya mold, worldview philosophy, which has both Islamic and the conventional knowledge. We want to prepare you for in Islamic economics and finance. They send me to UK to do masters. Lepas pada tu sambung PhD terus
di UK.
Di UK. So bila saya balik, of course saya kena ikat sebagai pensyarah. Waktu tu saya, walaupun saya baru habis PhD 3 tahun, I wrote a lot of articles, journal research and book. At that time, if you fulfill certain criteria, you can easily be promoted to associate professor.
You were?
Yeah, I was about to be promoted as associate professor at one of the youngest associate professor.
Masa tu umur berapa?
Masa tu umur dalam 28, 27, ya. So masa
girl punya budak ni.
saya kembali dalam bidang Islamic finance. So during that 5 years, my career in Islamic finance tu, Tuhan tunjukkan itulah saat the golden period of my life.
That was the early years of Islamic financing.
Yes, yes, yes. And then during that time, not many people, not many experts in those areas. And I was very active in writing a lot of articles, new things in Islamic finance. I was the first one who wrote on Islamic REITs, real estate investment trusts, on securitization, on
Berapa
SOCO.
masa tu?
Early,
Sukuk and all that?
Yes,
Everything.
yes, yes.
You're the one?
Yes, I remember my father always mentioned to me, if you want to become an academician, must make sure that you have to write. Because people will only acknowledge your scholarship when you write something.
And you can read something.
People, and that's true. Dunia mengenali saya kerana penulisan saya dulu. That's where I got the entrance into Islamic finance globally. So many Islamic finance institutions started to engage with me, countries, and I was sitting in, I think, nothing less than 30 financial institutions. Bila saya tengok dalam dunia, saya kata golden period because that was a lucrative, kan?
Yeah, very.
Because as a consultant, you bercakap, people bayar you 10,000 ringgit. Kadang-kadang in USD, you prepare 100 pages of tu, you dapat 150,000 USD. Contoh je kan. Saya pula, my family is, we live in a modest manner. Saya bukan jenis nak pakai branded ke apa. So most of the money tu I reinvest, I simpan macam-macam kan. So at that time I was very active in corporate world. I was board of director of Affin Bank. I was chairman of Affin Islamic Bank. So an AI
This
takaful.
was not parachuted. This is through your hard work, your capabilities. And ability.
You know corporate world. It is not based on pilih kasih ke kan.
No such thing, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
Dia basically based on merit and people look at your credentials and so on kan. And saya daripada bawah lah kan. Mana sebagai consultant, sebagai, and at that time memang my life macam sentiasa atas kapal terbang je. I was involved in Bahrain, in Oman, and one of the countries that I'm proud of giving consultancy is Turkey. Turkey. At that time, because the world is looking up at Malaysia as a model for Islamic finance, and we were the first in many ways in terms of structuring products, in terms of financial institutions, in terms of the market. Saya pernah mendapat anugerah di peringkat antarabangsa sebagai the most upcoming personality in Islamic finance because I was among the youngest in the industry. But at the same time, not many experts in Islamic finance that can actually capture both the Islamic, the conventional, as well as the Sharia component. So that might be because of
the books that you've written,
the write-ups and the exposure that I got. Fortunately lah, alhamdulillah.
Pengerusi Mara ni. Saya nak touch pasal pengerusi Mara. As you know, I come from the corporate sector. And I was leading a huge conglomerate, a Chinese conglomerate, but I was one of the few yang ke atas sana. To me, bottom line ni ROI. ROI kita ni money. How much money you bring in, that's it. Tu pun dah greatest challenge. Now, you pengerusi Mara. Your ROI is not about money. Bagaimanakah you dapat memikul jawatan ini di mana harapan anak bangsa is on your shoulders? How do you do that? How do you balance that?
Pertama sekali bila saya dilantik sebagai Mara, saya terpaksa memahami dulu apa sebenarnya organisasi ini. Kerana saya tak tahu apa ujian Tuhan kepada saya kali ini. Saya tidak pernah mendapat apa pemanfaat daripada Mara. Saya bukan anak Mara. Kalau daripada sekolah, saya adalah rival kepada MRSM. Saya sekolah di SBP, yang rival kepada MRSM. Menjadi seorang pengurusi satu institusi yang alien to me. I never imagine that I will become chairman for such an institution. So I go back to the history. Masa itulah saya dapati bahawa sebenarnya Mara ini mempunyai suatu agenda besar bagi orang Melayu, baik dari segi pendidikannya, ekonomi dan juga pelaburan. Tiga teras ini. Batullah kata Mara ini bukan sekadar social institution. It's a conglomerate on its own.
It is. It's huge.
Yes, with the asset under management is 23 billion ringgit. 23 billion ringgit under asset under management. Kita ada tiga sektor yang besar ni. Pendidikan, yang di bawahnya ada 345 institusi pendidikan. daripada MRSM sampai ke universiti.
Anak Mara sekarang.
UPTM.
Yes.
UniKL. Kita ada UPTM, kita ada UniKL. Kita menyerahkan UiTM kepada KPT. Ya. Tetapi itu one portion. Kita ada keusahawanan, ya, yang membela orang Melayu. Bagaimana mereka nak meluaskan perniagaan, nak membangunkan perniagaan, melestarikan perniagaan mereka. Ya. Dan kita ada sektor pelaburan. Di bawahnya ada 15 anak-anak syarikat. On one hand, pelaburan is a profit oriented.
Yes.
ROI-nya still we need to make profit, make money.
Yeah.
Of course, not to our shareholders, because our shareholders is a public.
Yeah.
We need to get money, the profit, the dividend, to be clawed back. In Mara, so that Mara can contribute back to the society. So we need to make money. At the same time, we have a social obligation. Social obligation based on the agenda of the Malay, agenda of the Bumiputra, in terms of uplifting the status of the Malay and Bumiputra in education, in economic, especially in entrepreneurship development. So this is huge, and our budget every year, nothing less than 5 billion ringgit. It's more than a Selangor punya budget, Johor punya budget. So of course, this is huge task, but you have to accept one fact, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, because you have already got your asset. What are the most valuable assets for any organization? Is a human capital. It's your people. In your organization. But the most important thing, how to realign your people to understand, appreciate, and really subscribe to one objective, one vision, one mission. So this is the most important thing, and get them to understand. Again, coming back to the very fundamental philosophy and raison d'être, as I mentioned earlier, the reason of your existence. You have amanah that you have to shoulder. Yang
it's a huge. It's a huge.
Sebab itu bila kita faham perkara ini, apa perkara penting? Okay, set up the governance structure first. The organ of governance.
Talking about governance, I just want to tweak this a little bit. Between policy yang telah ditetapkan dengan rintihan jutaan anak bangsa. How do you
That's why before you want to do anything big, or you want to make any transformation, you have to go back to the basic, whether your structure, your governance structure are in place or not. Based on my experience, the best governance is financial institution, and the best one that regulates the governance is bank negara. Because if the trust collapse, the whole financial institution will collapse. So that's why a regulator like bank negara is the most, I would say, effective organ of governance that control everything. So because Mara ni is about both education and entrepreneurship. So I need someone who can really understand what is my aspiration of transformation like. So someone who can subscribe to the idea together, and who can drive this together with me. So I think this is one of the best candidate, because who knows about academic, who knows about economics, and we need to do that. So Tan Sri Nur Azlan agreed juga. So we start with the majlis, and then we start to talk with the management, because the one who drives the organisation is management. Except that under the Act of Mara 1960, the Archaic Act, InsyaAllah we are going to introduce new act, insyaAllah. But kuasa majlis ini very very strong, because dulu tak ada governance ni. Maknanya pengurusi walaupun bukan eksekutif actually mempunyai kuasa yang besar.
Really?
Yes. Cuma kita dibayar allowance je lah. It doesn't commensurate with the money. That's why I say it's not about the money. Now it's about because we are shouldering a responsibility and trust of what? Of the Malay and Bumiputra agenda. I always tell people, I'm holding chairmanship of Mara under trust. I have to make sure this agenda will be beneficial to the Malay, not only for today but for future. So the most important thing is has to start with a right governance. Kita tak nak satu sen pun diboroskan, tiris, ataupun berlaku penyimpangan. That's why we have to put everything in place. This is the most important thing. Then only we can talk about transformation. Then we can talk about, you mentioned about the policy. How the policy can really benefit the devotees, contohnya anak luar bandar, because that was the intention of MARA in the beginning, kan? Sebab itulah,
you have to have that in mind.
that's why my priorities has always been education to the most underprivileged. MARA is very close to people's heart. For example, TVET.
Oh yes.
TVET is an agenda that is to focus on the underprivileged who are dropouts from the mainstream of education, and 85% of these dropouts are Malays. Bumiputra, Sabah, Sarawak. Why MARA must take charge on this? Why MARA has to be in the forefront? MARA is a institution that having the largest number of education institution focusing on TVET. Kita ada 270 institusi TVET, the highest compared to Kementerian Pendidikan. Kementerian Pendidikan ada College Vocational 86. KPT pun tak sampai 30. Kita ada 270. Dan 270 ni, out of which 231 giat MARA ada di semua parlimen.
Yes.
Ada di semua parlimen. So you can just imagine how strong the connectivity of MARA dengan orang ramai. Apatah lagi agenda Melayu dengan Bumiputra. Sebab itu for me, the most important thing, if you want to do transformation or whatsoever, you have to put in place the right governance. And second, you have to make sure that the agenda is really touches people's heart, meaning that it has to come back to its origin,
the core
values and core principles untuk membantu orang yang yang memerlukan. Sebab tu saya tak boleh dengar kalau misalnya anak-anak Melayu yang cemerlang tiba-tiba tangguh pengajiannya kerana tak cukup duit. Ya, saya lah orang pertama akan merasa berdosa kalau berlaku sedemikian. That's why whoever comes to me, whenever we got such information, we will prioritize them. And that's why kita nak make sure that MARA ini, okay, kalau mereka cemerlang, mereka lah yang patut kita nurture them at the universities, overseas. Kalau mereka kurang cemerlang, tak bermakna kita tinggalkan mereka, sebab manusia ni semua ada kekuatan yang Tuhan nak lahirkan, ada kelemahan.
Yang wujudnya TVET ni kan.
TVET. Ya, dan bagi mereka yang kurang bernasib baik, kita pun mesti membela mereka. Sebab itu yang paling penting sekali ialah kita kena meletakkan landasan yang betul untuk MARA terus hidup untuk 100 tahun lagi.
Anda katalah hari ini hari terakhir, apakah keinginan doktor untuk generasi yang akan datang ni untuk perjuangkan di dalam MARA?
Sebab itulah bila saya berada di MARA, saya bukan berfikir soal sekarang, saya fikir soal akan datang. Apakah generasi yang kita nak tinggalkan? Bagaimana organisasi kita tinggalkan? Sebab itulah we have been doing in MARA sekarang ni ialah put everything in place. Masyarakat akan rasa tenang bahawa institusi ini akan terus bergerak untuk mencapai apa juga yang direalisasikan oleh our forefathers dulu.
Last but not least, Dok, message kepada anak-anak muda di luar sana that you would like to wariskan kepada mereka supaya mereka boleh teruskan perjuangan kehidupan mereka.
Yang pentingnya kita ni dalam hidup, kita kena sentiasa ada dalam hati kita keikhlasan dan kejujuran dengan mempunyai satu matlamat bahawa kehidupan kita ini bukan untuk diri kita. Kehidupan kita ini untuk memberi makna kepada orang lain. Dan yang paling penting, kena sentiasa menjadi manusia yang mampu untuk memanusiakan manusia.
This is one of my most, I would say, challenging and most inspirational talk that I've given so far, that I've got a guest that have shared the views. Kami doakanlah kejayaan Datuk Wira Dr. Ashraf Wajdi Dusuki, insya-Allah. Akhir kata, tuan-tuan dan puan, ya, our greatest weakness, I would say, is giving up. For us to succeed is to keep trying. To keep trying and trying. Never give up that easily. Proof of what I've just said is here. God bless you. Semoga kita doakan Datuk Wira Dr. Ashraf berjaya dalam apa jua yang Datuk lakukan.
Yang pentingnya diberkati dan dirahmati kita bersama.
Amin. Amin. InsyaAllah. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
It's an honor.
My pleasure.
Assalamualaikum.
Iklankan jenama anda agar dipercayai ramai. Layari www.knkvgroup.com. Anda mahu anjurkan acara yang berprestij? Layari www.knkvgroup.com. Anda perlukan latihan pemasaran untuk pasukan anda? Layari www.knkvgroup.com. KNKV Group, sebuah produksi periklanan, penganjur acara dan latihan pemasaran, pilihan jenama-jenama unggul di Malaysia.